Disclaimer. This video has been made with the intent to clarify the events that have happened over the last week from my point of view, and to serve as an explanation for my behavior and attitude over the past few years for anyone that is interested in it. It is not meant to serve as a public apology, or a call to action towards anyone or anything that will be talked about in the following content. I do not wish harm, nor do I hold resentment towards any of the individuals or groups mentioned, and I do not represent any larger group of people or brand aside from what is strictly my own. It is also important to mention that I especially do not represent Five Nights at Freddy's, its brand, Scott Games, or its creator, Scott Cawthon. It is also worth noting that this video is not monetized and does not intend to collect any ad revenue. I would appreciate it if any viewers could watch this with an open mind, but I don't expect it if you hold any pre-existing views about my attitude or content. This video contains content that may not be suitable for the faint of heart, so make sure to read the following warnings in case you are sensitive to these kinds of topics. Over the last week, a lot of people online have been talking about an event that occurred last weekend, between July 29th and July 30th. It started on this channel, actually, a livestream of the recently released entry in the FNAF franchise, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin. This livestream was meant to serve as a live recording of my playthrough of the game, showing my personal reactions and opinions toward it as someone who has had a history with being a fan of the series' previous entries. In this livestream, I was extremely apathetic, sarcastic, and negative towards the game, not engaging with it as many currently existing fans of the series would. A lot of people reacted to this, especially on Twitter, or X as it is currently being called. After this livestream, a lot of comments were made about my attitude towards the game and my overall history of being both critical and mocking of the state of the FNAF franchise in the past couple of years. Enough comments were made surrounding the livestream that it had reached the site's trending page, rapidly increasing to several thousand tweets made within the day. Continuing my behavior from the livestream, I began responding to some of these comments in similar sarcastic and mocking tones, liking and reposting jokes about it, making plenty of jokes myself, and calls to be blocked by people who did not like my behavior. Things escalated, however, as during the situation an individual unrelated to me made a post, calling for people to not forget my attitude towards Ruin, as I called it boring, and in turn referred to a project I was developing at the time as boring when it was released. This project being Five Nights at Freddy's Plus of the Fazbear Fanverse initiative. Seemingly in response to this post, this person was sent death threats and horrible videos of suicide and gore through their personal open DMs, from what was said to be fans of my content. The victim of these messages shared this on their public account, and so a new wave of comments were made about the actions taken by my supposed fans. Other people were concerned about what had happened and were outraged by these horrible actions made towards a teenage fan of the FNAF series. While scrolling through the trending comments made about me, I came across a post about the situation. Being a prick about it seems to be all that he's capable of, and his fans are worse than he is. Someone had joked that we should all comment FNAF Plus is boring, and Phisnom's fans sent them death threats and gore compilations. Not reading into the situation far enough due to the overwhelming amount of comments at the time, I replied to the post with another one of my jokes. A joke that I have also repeated in the past when death threats were involved, trying to take the gravity out of the situation and focusing the horrible comments on myself and not anyone else. I did not take the situation with the seriousness it should have been treated with, commenting on it with too much levity as I have tended to do when confronted with horrible situations that surround me. And still, I repeat, trying to direct this horrible behavior towards myself and away from the victim in question. It is clear to me now that I should have been immediately more serious and emphasized this when replying. But at the time, I had no context about what had happened or reason to believe that the claims made were true, as I had no direct involvement in the situation beforehand. Within 7 minutes of my response, a user replied with the following. Phil, how do you hear that someone was literally sent gore and death threats in your name because they're your fans, and you don't even seem to be bothered by it? I responded by liking this account's tweets and repeating the same attitude of the post, still with levity and a joking tone, but clarifying that I was the only one that should be sent this kind of content. Continuing to reply to me, the account stated, "I don't know if you will say anything about this, you probably should, but whatever, your choice. I've just had to close my DMs on all my accounts for the night." Reading this, I had realized that the account I was replying to was the victim previously mentioned. I had wondered why they were using an alt account to reply to my post, and I went to actually investigate the claims that were made. As I had discovered, the person who I was talking about, who was sent these death threads, was a user I had previously blocked some time ago. I would like to say weeks or months before this, but I can't really recall exactly. I had blocked them and banned them from being able to interact on my Twitter account and YouTube channel comments in the past for their aggressive attitude and being underage, as I have expressly tried my best to block, ban, and otherwise discourage minors from interacting with my personal accounts and channel for several months, due to my belief that children should not be interacting with me, to avoid negative effects that they could receive from my attitude and beliefs. Upon learning this, I blocked this account as well to follow my own set rules, and the user proceeded to comment about this block. Fun fact, y'all, he blocked me after reading this, smiley face. Not wanting to fall further into what had been a very poorly handled situation, I decided to hold further comment until I saw how serious the situation really was, and how much effect it really had. The following hours, I observed the victim in question demanding an apology, bragging about the positive results of my reply by screenshotting an increase in their YouTube subscribers, commenting about being a blood and gore artist and how he had rewatched the video he was sent as he was curious about it, in his own words, clarifying multiple times that he wants to move on from the situation, only to continue posting about it and also calling for people like Dawko to speak hours later about it, thanking people for their support, re-enabling his DMs, and inviting people to his Discord server seemingly with no fear or thought about continuing harassment, and linking to his Patreon page for people interested in donating to him and his personal projects, although this was later taken back. I would show images of all these things, but the user in question has also demanded for his name or profile to not be shared around in videos about it, even though he clearly seems to enjoy the attention that had originated from it, continuing to express multiple times how it benefited him. Any claims I make about this can be corroborated by people who also witnessed these same comments. I did not explain this so I could justify my own attitude or give fault in any way to the victim of harassment, as they are a minor and their actions can be explained due to obvious immaturity, unlike my actions. I only do this to explain why, after making my comments, I did not see it necessary to immediately address the situation further with any serious regard, as the victim had seemingly moved on, not been openly emotionally affected by this event based on their comments, and was, according to him, even benefiting from the ordeal. After all of this, more tweets were made about the situation, condemning my behavior and the way I chose to respond, demanding I apologize for acting rudely and dismissively towards the victim in question, and take accountability for the actions of my alleged fans. Fans who I do not know the identities of, have never interacted with, have not seen active publicly, and seriously doubt even consider themselves fans of me, as I have always in the past discouraged my followers from engaging aggressively with other people or defend me in any way, in both my posts and my streams. Privately, I was also approached by concerned friends who wanted an explanation for my actions and wanted to hear what I would be doing to address them. One of them in particular was Direct Doggo, a fellow developer and very good friend of mine who I have always looked up to for moral guidance. He flatly stated his disapproval of my attitude and told me he had made a public post siding with the people demanding I take responsibility. If there's evidence that some of your fans are sending people gore, you should have the cop on to condemn it instead of joking about it. Being cheeky online is one thing, but you can't ignore behavior like this from your own fanbase when it comes to light. Take responsibility. He also expressed to me how this would affect the people around myself, especially those who I care about deeply and who are scared about this public reception, my own well-being, and were also hurt by my actions. I have never taken the thoughts and opinions of internet strangers seriously, but Doggo is not that. He is someone I consider a close friend, and again, someone I respect massively for being kind, good-natured, and an extremely selfless person. My private talk with him made me actually realize something I had been neglecting for a long time now. How my public attitude affected my friends and close ones. How despite me being okay with being publicly disliked, this does not only have an effect on solely me, but to the people that have only shown me kindness and love, whom I never wanted to harm. Realizing this, actually seriously, deeply realizing this, and feeling guilt over my actions for the effect that it had on my friends, I replied to Doggo's public comment within 5 hours of my original joke post. Jokes aside, sending people gore and death threats is completely inexcusable behavior, and I obviously don't support this at all. I don't consider anyone that would do this to be a fan of me, so let me know who they are, and I will block them and ban them from my community. After this, I retreated from public speaking to think about my actions. I had some time to think after all of this. The first part of this video is just to clear up what had happened from my perspective. But for those interested in more context, this is where I explain why I do the things I do. Or at least, why I think I do the things I do. Over the years, I have tried to show myself as someone who is very confrontational, very outspoken, impulsive, mean, angry, dismissive, and sarcastic. Someone that is a heel, that is a troll, someone who makes jokes about sensitive topics and does not care about being disliked as long as I could say whatever I wanted to say. I built kind of a whole brand around it, you know? Being toxic, the toxic slime, the toxic cesspit. People often referred to me as having a huge ego, not listening to criticism, enjoying the hate, and always thinking that I am in the right, and that I hold genuine anger and resentment for others around me. Friends have often expressed confusion about why I don't explain my actions more thoroughly, why I would choose to have people dislike me, why I have thick skin, as some of them have put. The truth is, and I mean this as seriously as I can, I always thought being like this was better for me in the long run. Even throughout all of this, and all the previous times that I have upset people publicly on purpose, I have honestly never felt like negative perception affected me. At all. It's not something I consider important, you know. In fact, being disliked and not taken seriously is something I prefer. Ever since I was active with this persona online, it was easy for me to be like this. The thing that scares me, the thing that really, truly, deeply scares me, makes me feel anxious and pressured, is not negative opinions from people who I don't know anything about, but the opposite. Being looked up to, being someone important, being a pillar of the community, as some people say. Being someone whose words carry weight and can influence people to take the wrong actions just because I said something without thinking. Having to spend active time doubting and worrying about my every action so it won't have a bad effect on others. That is what I'm really scared about. It has always made me feel trapped, like I am not in control of what I'm supposed to be. like I have to live my life for people who I don't even know. It's scary, and it has never made me happy. I have always kind of been trying to fight against it in one way or the other, purposefully acting like an asshole, saying the wrong things constantly, baiting, trolling, not taking things seriously, stuff like that. Things that would brand me as someone people should not listen to. Every time I felt the pressure building inside of me, I purposefully tried to remind people of who I was by doing something unprofessional. I genuinely, truly prefer to be someone who can just be cast aside and not considered worth paying attention to. Someone that is just there to have fun and not be a moral guardian. Someone who people can watch without admiring. Because at least that way, I feel a lesser weight on my back every time I talk. I don't justify my actions because I never really wanted to be protected or defended. Because I never needed to be. Because that is honestly so much less stressful to think about. This is not normal behavior. I know that. Other people would probably be elated to be listened to be admired or thought about highly. Other people would probably be terrified of being seen as the bad guy or hurt that a crowd thought of them badly. But I don't. And sometimes I've questioned why I'm like this. And some of the reasons I've managed to make sense of over the years are just too personal for me to talk about at length in this video. If I had to give a reason as to why, I guess I just don't think I deserve to be put on a pedestal. And that negative comments are easy to dismiss because it's not like I actually care about myself enough to ever feel threatened by them. Because of this, I don't think I should have been in the position I was. When my involvement in the Fanverse initiative first started, I was so excited to be able to create something for a series I was so heavily invested in at the time. I was confident that I could bring something of my own to the table. Something I personally felt the series lacked, what I failed to realize at the time, and what I ended up struggling with the most was everything else. I had a plan for what I wanted to do, but was too naive about how expectations would affect me in the long run. I was encouraged to act with my fans as I saw fit, given as much freedom as possible to do what I wanted with the project, and promoted like I would something entirely my own, to handle situations myself, to be my own developer and not part of a studio or a group. I wholly appreciated this freedom at the time. Progress during my first year or so was running smoothly. I did not think at the time that fan expectations would affect me at all. I did not know how much extra weight and eyes were going to be placed on my head for what I was undertaking. But then I slowly realized that my posts started garnering a lot of attention, and at first I thought it to be responsible to act more professional than I did in the past, promising, in fact, to be more professional. I really, actually, truly tried to be more professional, because I thought that's what I wanted, I guess. Something I needed to be now, but as the months went by, I realized that the creeping feeling of worry about people looking up to me was getting worse. And I felt so unequipped and tired to keep an appearance of something I really was never used to being. I took back my word about being professional. Instead, I decided to publicly push away the expectations people were surrounding me in. I made posts after posts about not being a person to be looked up to, and that if people wanted updates, they should follow the official sources that I had created and not my personal accounts. I removed any association from my personal accounts as well. I even openly declared that my personal account should not be interacted with by minors. The ones that would be the most influenced by trusting the word of a random internet personality. I also decided to withdraw from open development, as any single bit of information was something people kept praising and commenting on with fervor and passion and hype. But then it got worse. Do you know how it feels for people to regard you as something you're not? Do you know how it feels for people to assume you know more than you do? Do you know how it feels to not only be regarded as special, but also in a position to be in charge of the actions of tens of thousands of people, even though you were never prepared for that you're someone special to them, someone who will pull through for them, even if you don't know who they actually are? Do you know how it feels for every single thing you say to be commented on and taken at such face value and spread around as if it was gospel? That it not only matters, but it's above anyone else's thoughts or opinions? Do you know how it feels to receive emails from multiple of your accounts warning you that someone was trying to get into them? Or getting daily emails begging to be given access to information that can't be shared? Do you know how it feels for people to completely make up responsibilities for you? Spreading misinformation about the nature of your work, confidently expressing how much of a big, important, wealthy person you are, even though nothing really changed about your life after agreeing to join the Fanverse. Do you know how it feels to sit there and worry as people who wanted to be in your position possibly gain access and plan to leak files and documents that could include your full legal name and address because they felt they were wronged or attacked first? Do you know how it feels to be approached every single day, for years, constantly, by strangers with no boundaries, feeling like you owe them your attention, demanding your help, or demanding progress on a personal project, demanding you stop whatever you're doing to work on something and keep working on it until they were personally satisfied with you? And then being so bitter whenever you tell them to go away, to the point they will hold grudges against you and motivate others to also approach you, even though you have continued for so long to set boundaries online and keep repeating for them to go away. And if you ever give in to that pressure, at any point, at any time, something bad happens, and you will be held responsible and disappoint the people close to you. Do you know how it feels when mentally unstable people obsess over you for over a year? And I don't mean neurodivergent people, as some claim that I block any person with any kind of mental disorder. No. I mean people that are truly, honestly, completely warped in their mind and are a danger to themselves and others. Because I know how that feels. I had a stalker. She had been obsessed with me for almost 2 years by now. This person had a completely unhealthy obsession with me, trying to form a bond with me any way she could, getting into contact with as many of my friends or people related to me as possible, watching my every move, manipulating others, lying about her identity, threatening self-harm, threatening suicide, if I would ever cut contact with her. She was someone who tried to take advantage of what happened last week to be able to get her sick justice, piggybacking off the claims of someone else to also blame my fans for her mental instability. I had been dealing with her for quite some time now, and because I knew from the moment I talked to her that she would eventually do something like this publicly, I prepared a document with over 100 screenshots detailing her behavior, that I then released in response within hours of her post. You can see this document if you go to my Twitter account, but I will also add a link to this post in the description below. She started trying to make contact in October of last year by approaching one of my friends. She expressed interest in talking to me, and the unstable way she spoke let my friend know right away to not put me close to her. Then it continued a month after that, with her pretending to be a concerned friend, condemning me for having rejected her, and talking about attempts at her own life. I had to dig up any information I could to even know what she was talking about. I never even had heard of her until that point. I made the serious mistake of contacting her to tell her that she needed serious medical help. I tried to be sympathetic, but made sure to never express any interest in her. I just wanted her to get this weird obsession with me out of her head and get help. But she continued to cling to my attention, and eventually I had to forcefully cut contact. The months after that were a constant, daily drain hanging over my head as she continued to create accounts to harass me and anyone I happened to talk to. Lies, manipulation, spam messages, lying about her identity, lying about her condition, asking for forgiveness, demanding I unblock her, demanding I kept talking to her, being sent suicide notes through email, stream donations, being sent pictures of her cutting her wrists open, drawing threats in her own blood in the wall, threats of being euthanized, being put in a mental hospital, claims that I ruined someone's life or that she will do anything she can to ruin my life and the lives of my friends because I just existed and said something she liked at the wrong place at the wrong time. Eventually I got used to it, I guess. But dealing with that stalker every day reinforced my fear and worries of being put on such a high pedestal again. It was harder and scarier to think about than ever before after that. I became seriously scared of even talking with anyone I didn't already know. Because who knows, right? Who knows what is out there? Who will see you one day, catch a glimpse of you they like, and they will never let you go, kicking and screaming and digging their nails into you until they make you bleed. I had caught in my first stalker. Who knows how many I would have to deal with from now on if I became someone to worship. Because of this, because of all of this, every single part that has weighed me down, that has made me worry and stress and slow my work down as I constantly doubted myself and kept reworking things over and over again. Not just what happened last week. That was just the last straw that broke the camel's back. But just all of this, the past few years, I realize now that I have been not okay. I don't like to admit that, but my behavior is a clear indication that I am not okay. I've realized that I've had a negative effect on the people I care about. The ones I really, really do actually care about. The people close to me. The ones who I actually feel comfortable talking with. The ones who have shown me nothing but kindness over the years. People I feel who know me more closely than how I present myself online. Once I realized this, I made sure to apologize to as many of them as I could. Especially the ones I've seen be the most affected by this whole ordeal. This video is not meant to serve as a public apology, but I do really apologize to my close friends who have had to deal with my behavior the past few years, that have somehow found it in themselves to still stick with me. And not only that, but be worried and scared for me, trying to provide words of support for me throughout all of this, even though it somehow hurts more than if they had just left me. It would be so much easier if I was just alone. I could just not worry and keep going like I have been until now. But I can't. Even if it would be easier to push people away, it's not the right thing to do. It's not okay to disregard or throw away the people that have only had kind things to say to me, despite everything. But still, like I said before, I should not be in the position for this to happen again. Not to this scale. Effective some days ago, I am no longer developing Five Nights at Freddy's Plus. Any kind of association I had with FNAF, Scott Games, or anything related to the FNAF franchise has been terminated. I no longer possess any rights or power to talk about FNAF Plus, or the Fanverse initiative as a whole. Any questions or comments regarding the matter, I will not be able to answer. And that is not my project to talk about anymore. If in the near future you see any of my fan games or stream VODs related to FNAF taken down, it is solely because I have a responsibility to comply with the agreements of my contract after its termination. I will also avoid any mention or comment about Five Nights at Freddy's in general moving forward. I would like to fully and completely distance myself from it, not affect it in any way, and just focus on my own personal and original projects. I would like to say that I am distraught over this, that I have let everybody down, that I have wasted my efforts within these last few years of my life, and that I wish I could have done better. But I can't. Because once this was done, deep inside me, I only felt relief. I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And if I feel this way most of all, then that means that it was the right thing to happen. That I made a mistake being in this position. I will avoid ever accepting to be placed in a position like this in the future, especially for such a long time. Even now, the thought of being considered a failure, someone that screwed everything up and should not have been trusted, to know that so many people will stop being fans of my content and will move on to something else, that I will be seen with scorn and resentment for acting like this feels liberating, I guess. But as I said before, I also know that this is not a normal thing to feel, and that I am wrong to feel this way. I need to be better in the future, for my friends. I care about them. I really, really do. And so I will try to find ways to improve and know how to handle my fears and hang-ups properly, and not make it a problem for them to deal with constantly anymore. I just don't know how to do that right now, but I will try to find a way. As for now, I will be going on an extended break. A really extended break. I will still be online and checking some stuff out from time to time, maybe retweeting some stream fan art, but I would not like to use my accounts to post anything public for a few months at the very least. I will be active, talking to friends that still wish to talk to me, but I will not force myself to do any public events or announcements until I feel that I am in a better place mentally. Whenever I return, I wish I could continue streaming, playing games I love and I'm passionate about, or really anything that would be fun to play with friends. Streaming and the toxic cesspit have become one of my favorite things to be a part of. Even though it does place a public spotlight on myself, I really did feel like most of the time I could express myself openly and make fun of myself in a healthy way. For people to casually have fun. I never thought I would enjoy streaming as much as I have the past year. It has really been a wonderful experience to be a part of. It helped me to stabilize and find a place of comfort while I was struggling with expectations of development and the expectations of graduating in my last year of college. It really felt like something I had for myself that I could feel comfortable in. Whenever I return to it, I certainly won't expect as many people to watch me as they did in the past, and I do not hold any ill will to the people not interested in watching me anymore. But if a few will still enjoy themselves with me, I think that would be worth it to continue. Thank you to everyone in the toxic cesspit who has enjoyed my content, has casually watched, commented, donated, made fan art of Fi and the co-hosts, purchased merch, or has in general felt like they had a good time alongside me. This channel felt like my refuge when times were tough, and I appreciate all those comments I've read in the past that have shared this same feeling back to me. Thank you. As for my game development efforts, despite me being a complete and utter failure, I still do want to work on original projects. Now that I have the freedom to do so, I would like to work and release smaller prototype projects, ask some friends for help in them, maybe even stream my efforts in learning a new game engine. I would still really like to work within the horror genre, probably something in Unreal Engine 5, maybe low poly, survival horror, maybe even mascot horror. I have not fully decided yet, but it is still a goal for me to be able to put out an original project people will enjoy, that I can also feel proud of. And that's it for now. Thank you for listening to these ramblings. I made this so if anyone was worried or wanted a place to search for my thoughts, they could hear them as cleanly and easily as possible. It still feels wrong to post something as serious as this in this jarring tone compared to all the previous content that is on my channel, but I feel also that it's necessary, and that I owe people this, at the very least, before I go on hiatus. Thank you again, and I'll see you later, okay? Bye-bye.